Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a molecule you probably think you know, serotonin. But we're going on a journey that stretches back billions of years, and trust me, its a real story is way more epic than you've ever been told.
So, when I say serotonin, what's the first thing that pops into your head? The happy chemical, right? The thing that regulates your mood? Well, what if I told you that's just a tiny, recent little chapter in a much, much older saga? Get this. For over 2.5 billion years, that's most of its existence, serotonin had absolutely nothing to do with brains, or nerves, or feelings. Its story starts at the very dawn of life itself. So here's our roadmap. We're going to trace this incredible journey. We'll start with its first jobs in ancient life, find out why plants are loaded with this stuff, and then see how animals, facing a big problem, had to get creative and adapt it for a totally new purpose, wiring up the brain. And stick around, because at the end, we'll uncover a wild secret about the very things that detect its signal. All right, let's dive in. We're rewinding the clock way back. Our story doesn't begin in a nervous system, but inside the simplest single-celled organisms, billions of years ago. So, what was it doing back then? Well, its original gigs were all about basic survival. First, it was an antioxidant, kind of like a tiny bodyguard for the cell, protecting it from damage. And second, it worked as a light sensor, helping these super early organisms tell the difference between day and night. You can think of it as a primitive molecular sundial. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, now let's fast forward a bit. As life evolves and the plant kingdom emerges, something wild happens. The world becomes absolutely overflowing with serotonin.
And I'm not exaggerating. On average, plants are packing about 100 times more serotonin than animals are. That's a huge difference, and it points to a major fork in the road in the story of life. I mean, just look at this comparison. A banana peel has a serotonin concentration of about 40 micrograms per gram. A rat's brain? A tiny 0.4. It's not even a contest. Plants are just swimming in this stuff. And you know what's crazy? This incredible fact is almost a scientific secret. As Dr. Azmitia points out here, you can flip through most botany textbooks and find nothing on this. It's just ignored, which of course leads us to the next critical piece of the puzzle. And this is the big turning point in our story, the animal adaptation. Because when animals showed up on the scene, they had a huge problem that plants never did. And this one problem, a problem of scarcity, would change serotonin's destiny forever. It all comes down to this one thing. Tryptophan. It's the essential amino acid you need to make serotonin. Now plants, they can just whip up their own tryptophan, no problem. But animals, we can't. We have to get it from our food. And that means for animals, tryptophan, and by extension serotonin, suddenly became a rare and precious resource. You can literally watch this scarcity drive evolution right here on this timeline. Early animals like sponges, no nervous system at all. Then you get to Hydra, and you start to see serotonin pop up in a few specific sensory cells. By the time flatworms arrive, those cells have started to clump together into a real distinct nervous system. A brand new job was being invented. So the animal kingdom's solution was basically to get efficient. Instead of having serotonin everywhere, just a few specialized cells would make it. And you'd place those cells in really strategic locations to get the biggest bang for your buck. This need to conserve a rare resource was literally the seed from which our entire complex nervous system grew. Which, of course, brings us to the brain. Because as brains got more and more complexity, the serotonin system had to evolve right alongside them. It had to get smarter and more sophisticated about how it used its very precious supply. And we can actually see this strategy changing over time. In simple critters like a sea slug, you've got a few massive serotonin neurons that just act like bullies, dominating entire circuits. In rodents, it's more like a committee, big clusters of neurons working together to influence broad brain states. But in primates, it becomes this highly collaborative network of smaller specialized groups sending super fast, precise signals to very specific destinations. And this is the killer upgrade. Primates evolved something called myelinated axons for their serotonin pathways. You can think of it like upgrading from an old country road to a fiber optic cable. Suddenly, the signals could be delivered with incredible speed and precision. This is what allows serotonin to take part in the most complex, specific functions of the human brain.
All right, this brings us to the final and frankly the most mind-bending part of this whole story, the receptors. These are the locks on our cells that the serotonin key fits into. And believe it or not, their story is even older and stranger than the molecule itself.
Just look at this timeline. It is astonishing. The gene for one of our main serotonin receptors, it's called 5-HT1A. 5-HT is just the sciencey name for serotonin. That gene is about 1 billion years old. That's 400 million years before the first animals, like sponges, even existed. The lock was built hundreds of millions of years before there was even a door to put it on.
So, why? Why on earth would that happen? Well, it all circles back to that central theme, scarcity. The animal body evolved this huge, diverse family of super-sensitive receptors to make absolutely sure that even the tiniest drop of that precious serotonin molecule would have a massive, widespread effect. So let's just put this whole incredible story together. We learned that serotonin is ancient. It started out as a simple cellular bodyguard and a light sensor. Then we saw that plants are swimming in it, but animals have to conserve it, all because of that one molecule, tryptophan. That scarcity then became the engine that drove the evolution of our amazing nervous system. And the final twist, the locks for that system are even older, waiting around for hundreds of millions of years for the animals they now help run. What an amazing evolutionary tale, right? So after 3 billion years of constant adaptation, from a single cell to a plant to the human brain, it leaves you with one final big question. How is this ancient, adaptable molecule adapting inside of us, right now, to the completely unique pressures of our modern world?